afternoon, everyone. Hello, hello, hello. Still got a few people coming in through the lobby, so we'll give everybody a couple of minutes to get in and set up and ready. Just to let everybody know, the webinar session today will be recorded, so we have started the recording a little bit early, but we'll be sure to turn it off towards the tail end if needed to answer any questions. But just for those of you that are already in the lobby and are coming in and flowing in at a rate of knots by the look of it, so we'll probably give it around 2 minutes until we actually kick off the workshop, just to make sure everybody has ample opportunity to come off their last meetings and join this one and get set up, and no doubt hopefully be ready with a coffee and a notepad ready to come on the Power Apps Workshop Part 4. I can't believe we're in the 4th workshop in this series already, which is great. So yeah, as I said, guys, we'll give it probably another minute or so just for everyone to come and join in. Just by way of housekeeping, if we could just ask everybody to just pop yourselves on mute throughout the session, that would be great. I can see pretty much everyone actually has already done that, so good thinking there. To make you all aware as well, the recording for this session will be published up on our YouTube channel, along with all of our other previous webinar recording sessions. There's usually around about a week or so of delay, so don't panic if you come off the session or you need to drop off halfway through. It will be published on there, but you may have to wait around a week or so just to get the final edited cut with some of the early stuff and probably the tail end potentially cut off. But so yeah, if you're looking for this in the future, please feel free to go and have a look at our YouTube channel, and likewise make sure that you're connected with iCoTech services on LinkedIn, or myself or Joel as well. We're sharing lots of content on the social channels, and it seems to be a really good way to reach out to our audience and get that conversation going. We get messages on a daily basis, myself and Joel, around what about this, what about that, just questions that people didn't get an opportunity to ask on webinars, or things that typically tend to come up after the workshop sessions have already finished, and we're always happy to engage with our audience and answer any questions that we can, provided that they're not too technically complex. I usually tend to farm them off to the developers, which probably leads us in quite nicely. So looks like we've got most of the people through from the lobby, just to get started. So that being said, just as a sort of a running order for today, the agenda for today's session is very much a introductions, approach and offerings, which I'll be taking care of at the start of this session. Then we're going to give a bit of a summary of the previous workshop sessions that we've done so far, because obviously those of you that have been on those, you'll probably already have a good understanding of that, but I do see some new faces in the lobby as well, so likewise it'd just be good to give everybody a quick summary of those workshops. Then we're also going to have a look at 5 steps to building a Power App, which is where Joel will absolutely be taking lead to take you on that journey and kind of carry on the work that's been done in the previous sessions, and then we're gonna finish off with an example of a sort of simple corporate risk management solution for today's example, and then we'll have some space at the tail end then for a bit of a Q&A. So that being said, as I did promise, there are going to be introductions. So I don't know why my slide's not moving on. I've gone too far by the look of it. No, I haven't. So introductions anyway. So my name's Rob McGowan. I'm the partner manager here at iCoTech Services. So don't worry, I'm not going to be delivering today's webinar session, but I am going to be just introducing us and giving you guys a bit of information and background about iCoTech. So my role here is very much engaging with new partners, new clients, new opportunities, and just really helping organizations understand who we are, what we do, and how we can add value to your organization. I'm not going to introduce Joel because I'm sure he'll want to introduce himself in a couple of minutes time, but a bit of history about iCoTech and kind of who we are, where we came from. So we were founded around 2.5 years ago by John Markham, who's obviously hosting today's session. And our first set of clients were a mix of public and private sector organizations, from central government and large private sector organizations. Some of our current clients include the Department for Business, Energy and Industrial Strategy, Office for National Statistics, ACAS, IPO, and numerous others that we struggle to fit all on one page of a slide at the moment. But Yeah, so that was kind of when we started and who we started working with. Obviously, we're still engaged with the vast majority of our initial clients because the journey never really finishes. You just kind of move on to the next project, and as you start to collect that value, you start to see where the future ends. And then in January of last year, I believe it was, we hosted our first of these webinar sessions, and we've been delivering them almost every week, I think, ever since then. So quite a lot of content out in the ether now that iCoTech are producing. iCoTech Services, we're a Microsoft Gold implementation partner, so we specialize in all things Microsoft 365 cloud technology. So whether it's Power BI, if it's Project Online, Project for the Web, SharePoint, Teams deployments. We don't like to think of ourselves as generalists. I suppose within the finite area of Microsoft 365, we are generalists. However, we're absolutely specialists at Microsoft 365 cloud technologies. So that's a little bit of information about who iCoTech are and who we work with. The approach that we take, I'm not going to go through all of these for you, but just to give you a bit of a background and a bit of a high level understanding, we're very much a people-centered business. We care a lot about the people that we work with, the relationships and the partnerships that we build. But then on the other side of that, we're also very much a technology-focused business. So we're absolutely committed to using and deploying the best tools and systems, capturing up the best ideas and information, and we're constantly researching and innovating within our business and within the client organizations that we work within to deliver these projects and these solutions that we offer. So our offering in a nutshell, we have 4 core lines of business that we really try and focus on. So solutions, which is what Joel will be giving you guys obviously an example of today. So in this particular one, it's around Power Apps, but we can do everything solution-wise from SharePoint migrations to Teams deployments to Dynamics 365 configuration, PPM solutions, and a huge vast array of other things, which I won't go into too much, but it's very much about kind of building business solutions, deploying them into our clients' environments and helping them really eke out that value from Microsoft 365. We also have a small range of products as well. So where we've developed things internally, be it a Power App solution or a desk booking app or myriad of other things, we have a small range of products now that are available to come and procure from us. So PPM solutions are very, very much a core part of our business, and this product range is growing every single month. So products is another line of business that we specialize in. Consultancy, so we do a lot in business change, digital transformation, and strategic road mapping for organizations, helping to make sure that they're making the right decisions when it comes to their technology. And then we have a range of services, which is usually towards the back end. So once we've delivered a solution into an organization, or we've delivered a product, or we've done a piece of consultancy work or a discovery workshop session, things like that, we then come around at the back end and we look at how we can continue to support our partners moving forward. So whether that's in maintaining the systems, iteratively developing on the solutions, whatever those things are, that kind of falls within our kind of services bracket, if you will. But those are kind of the 4 key areas of what we do here at iCoTech and kind of who we are. That being said, though, I'm going to hand over now to Joel, because I'm sure he'll want to introduce himself and obviously take you along the journey. I just wanted to welcome everybody to today's session. I really hope that you see some value from it, and obviously you make sure that you stay connected with us on social media and YouTube, etc. And yeah, I hope you enjoy the session. If you have any questions, feel free to pop them in the chat box or raise your hand throughout the session. I'll be in the background ready to answer questions if possible, or if not, I'll just give Joel a nudge if he's not able to see a hand raised as he's going through things. But thank you very much. Joel, over to you.
Cheers, Rob. Thank you very much. Awesome. So this is the 4th Power App workshop. So yeah, I can't believe we've done 4 of these. I think that the first one was in November after looking this morning. So thank you for everybody who's attended those sessions, and I know there's been a few people who have attended every single one of them. So yeah, welcome the interest and the engagement, and thank you for that. This is the 4th one, and as the agenda said at the top of the call there, we'll do a bit of a quick summary slide of each of the previous 3 workshops, and then we'll go into just a recap, I guess, a reimagined way of delivering Power Apps in a 5-step approach to delivering a Power App, because I'm hoping that you guys are going to go away and deliver these yourself and use this technology yourself. And then one of the challenges we do get across our stakeholder group is almost examples. What can I use a Power App for? And I think risk management is a prevalent area at the moment, and we've done some work with a number of organisations across risk management and how, and hopefully I'll show you later on in a simple demo of a corporate risk management solution. Just something super simple, easy to use and easy to build yourselves, but it almost takes all the components that we've looked at in the previous 3 workshops and brings them together into a solution that you can use to kind of, I guess, inspire your own Power App in your service as well. Okay, cool. So I will say that my mouse, oh, there it is, back. Here we go. I was worried my mouse had died, but I think it was the control of Rob taking over my my slides. So glad that that's back, because that could have been a catastrophic failure to the webinar. But types of Power Apps. I just want to recap on these Canvas apps, portals, and model-driven apps. We're very much focused on all 3 at iCoTech, but just for consistency and ease of demonstrating, I think model-driven apps are really prevalent in the industry at the moment, and really where a lot of organizations have an opportunity to use these apps, their systems really, and they allow us to capture records, and it's really a natural progression from SharePoint. If you're building SharePoint lists and those type of services, then model-driven Power Apps are really the way to go. Canvas apps are brilliant, they're great, but you do have a blank canvas per se, so you've got to have a bit of an artistic design flair, I think, in order to utilize these or build these. You've got to be able to understand user interface and how that works, and buttonage and navigation and things like that, because it really does give you a blank canvas for you to use, which is brilliant, because it allows us to create applications where a customer says, I want the new button to be big, red, and bold. We could do that on a Canvas app. You can't do it on a model-driven app, but the downside is that you have to build it from scratch. Portals then is probably, again, the least used Power App out there at the moment, but I think it's got the biggest potential actually in the future, and how we can integrate internal applications with external customers. Creating websites, ideal for surfacing reports, invoices, and iCoPortal's coming soon, which will effectively be a portal where you guys can log on to that portal and consume value and look at these webinars, content, Q&As, all that type of stuff can be built into a portal, which is essentially a Power App that you can use. You can log in with external credentials. There's some good things in that as well, some good technologies in terms of LinkedIn authentications as well. So you can sign in with your LinkedIn account, or sign in with Facebook. You don't actually have to have like an iCoTech account in order to sign into that portal, which is really cool and quite great, really. So that was a bit of an overview of the different types of Power Apps. So in workshop 1, what did we cover? So we did a bit of a general introduction at workshop 1, and we did a bit of a deeper dive of what I've just given you on the example Power Apps that are available. And we talked about the myriad of connections that are available within Power Automate and how we use that to connect different systems together. And then at the top there of the slide, you can see the portal example that we did just a basic show and tell about. And so I encourage you to go back to that link, that video. It's on YouTube. It's in November time, and it's actually titled Workshop 1 as well. So it should be quite easy to find. So that's what we did then. In Workshop 2, we talked really about, I guess, some of the problem statements from Microsoft and where Microsoft see this technology going. And then we did a bit of a deeper dive then on the differences. And we started off with the basics. So in Workshop 2, we talked about tables and views. So tables are effectively, if you're into databases, it's where you store your data. So in a series of columns and a series of records, you can use these tables to store that data and that information in your system. And then views is a way in which you can see those records in a table, and you can configure those views. And we covered that in workshop 2, how to build and configure those views in those systems. And we also touched on Power Platform as a service as well, just our way of offering help to organizations who wish to consume the Power Platform. In workshop 3, we talked about business rules. So this is how we can set column values, clear column values. We can do a number of things or set a number of rules and actions that are utilizing conditions. So, if column X equals Y or field equals yes, then it can do something like, show or hide a column, enable or disable a required field. And that's really, really useful. And I think that for me is where this technology is taken on a level from the Power Platform technology. Sorry, from the SharePoint technology. Having those conditions and those rules available to you is really, really, really powerful, and something that we use a lot. And the simple kind of corporate risk management app that I'll show you later on does utilize that kind of technology. Business process flows. So again, that's the bullseye, the stage gates. That's a really good little record management. So you can use those business process flows to do a number of things. We use them at iCoTech for project lifecycle management. So if you've got stage gate, you've got the stage 1, 2, and 3. You can use those business process flows to take a project through a series of stages. Risk management, today we'll show you risk management and how a record can go through those stages, start to finish, or assessment, approval, a live risk, and so on and so forth. But you can also use it for new starters, expenses, event management planning. The event is in planning, the event is booked. Kind of really the world's the oyster in this space. Holiday requests, we've got a holiday request system that we've built in a Power Platform, and idea selection as well. So that was workshop 3, covering how to build those business rules and to configure those business process flows. So hopefully, that just kind of summarizes what we've discussed so far. So I guess how I would go forward, and if I was in your shoes, or how I would advise people to go forward in building their Power App. I just wanted to put this together really, and just kind of share this with the audience and make sure, just give my interpretation of how I would do it. So I guess step 1 for me is really about identifying the challenge, and in every engagement that iCoTech hold or complete, we do this kind of 5-step approach, although in our unique model, which is delivering value at pace, which is a bit more detail, of course, but this is just I guess a simplified version. If you're going to go away and build a Power App from these workshops and this session, I'd follow this process. But you've got to identify a challenge. So you've really got to clearly identify the business challenges you're trying to solve, and always keep it simple. I'm the worst for this. Even this morning, we're mapping out kind of business processes and almost getting a bit excited about what the system could do. And if it could do that, then we could save this, solve this problem. But if it's a customer expense, then it has to go through this process. Or if it's an internal expense, it has to go through this process. Very difficult to keep it simple, but definitely, really do try. A really high priority to keep these things simple. Start off with a simple business process flow, and choose one as well that you know well. So it's always a lot easier to build an existing business process flow that's already predefined or well defined in your business. If you don't have a manual process or a manual piece of paper to digitize and take through this process, it becomes really hard. Take an existing kind of manual, painful Excel spreadsheet or a form that somebody fills in. Take that process that you know well, and simply scope it out as a requirement for an application. The projects that an organization or team or department doesn't have the process mapped out as is, or a current process, it's just a totally new process, they are intrinsically harder to deliver. But always have the business outcome in mind. What's the benefit? What's the value of doing this? Is it a faster process? Is it better collaboration? Is it real-time visibility? What is it that is going to be achieved as an outcome for the business as a result of building this application? I did press next. There we go. Knowing the end goal will help make the app you create effective. So really it is about, what is the end state here? It doesn't necessarily mean you have to get to there after the initial deployment. You've got to keep it simple, but knowing where you want to get to in the future is something that's really important, and always keeping an eye on that end goal, that end target. um, if you didn't have that end goal, then actually trying to scope out the iterative chunks of development can be quite costly, and you could go around the houses really. So just as an example, Bayes, a customer of ours, wanted to replace a SharePoint list which was used to track new project requests across the business. So, cross-organizational users wanted to be able to submit these requests. It was a SharePoint list, an archaic SharePoint list, thousands of records in there, and it was really hard to manage. It was one form, and it was difficult to prioritize and take these records through processes. So keeping it very simple, but just allowing the replacement or the deletion of the list. You don't need a list anymore, but having all the records in a Power App as an initial example of identifying the challenge, I thought was just good to share. But another angle, another view on what Power Apps could be used for, just to try and help spark, I guess, the imagination or creativity, is that maintenance repair processes of assets. So if it's printers or if it's like engineering equipment, you can have a simple log of where these assets are being maintained or where they're being repaired, or an MOT, expiry date system, for example. Project management, of course, we talk about that a lot across iCoTech. Proposal creation. So if you're in business development and sales, then you can use a Power App for creating a proposal in a Word document, and so on and so forth. Incident reporting, accident reporting, that type of thing. Training management, resource, asset tracking. You can see all the ones on the screen there. But just wanted to kind of land a few examples of common uses of Power Apps across our experience here at iCoTech. I guess the only one I slightly disagree with after on reflection is the interactive dashboards. A Power App is really about information tracking and record tracking. You can, of course, surface interactive dashboards into a Power App, but I wouldn't build a Power App to get interactive dashboards. I'd use Power BI to do that. But I think that's just hopefully gives you some ideas of what a Power App could be used for in your operating environment. All right. I guess a vision for the app. Really take time to define your vision. It doesn't have to be complicated. A few simple things that you want to do with it. A few simple benefits. What is the experience going to look like? And even just wireframe it. If you know what a model-driven app looks like, a lot of the time, I'll get my sketch pad out or the whiteboard, and we'll be wireframing these applications. And getting a clear vision is really important. And also have it all in one document. We like to have it all in one document, one repository. You can all interact on that document or comment on that document in terms of your requirements or your user stories. And that helps just make sure everybody's on the same page. Right. Stakeholders are really important. So the idea is that everybody can help build and contribute to this technology. So hopefully there's people that are not technically in IT at the moment, but are about to start building low code, no code applications. That's the idea, is that we're disseminating the ability to create these applications across organizations. It's not just technology people in an IT or digital team that can do this. It is as simple as click drop, and follow the process. And hopefully the last three workshops have shown you how kind of simple it can be. But identifying who the stakeholders are going to be, so kind of getting your sponsor, getting your product owner sorted, getting those people that are going to be involved in the project as you go through the process. I think that's really, really important. And yeah, just try and do a bit of a needs analysis on how's the app going to affect their work. Considering their needs early avoid surprises down the road and helps you deliver the greatest value. So take that as is process and understand exactly what the pain points are each stage of that process. And make sure you deliver the biggest value up front, really. So yeah, I guess understand who the app users are. Really, just do is there one role or is there multiple roles? Is there like an approver, a project manager, a sponsor, an admin? Just map out who those people are. Who will be the customer of the application? So who's the real kind of, out of those user groups, who is the real custodian or customer end user of the application? and who controls the data. So really, who controls which data it's connected, used, parent and child relationships. Where this data sits is really, really important to think about. But yeah, I guess you don't have to address all the needs of every stakeholder, but you just want to start small, and really understand it earlier on. Really get the understanding of each stakeholder, each persona, get that mapped out as early on as possible in the journey. All right, so that's step 3. There's only 2 more steps, I promise. So data, really important to work out where your data's sitting. So apps rely on data, of course. You can store data in a Power App, but you can also connect to data outside of the Power App as well. So in Excel or SharePoint, or even other services as well. But really, just if you know what a database schema is, just map out your tables and your primary and secondary keys and work all that out before you even start building it. Good to get that architecture understood before embarking on building the application itself. All right, but just for other ideas, these apps can capture data. So if you take a photo, we can capture where that photo was taken. So if you've got an incident reporting system, for example, and you want to report an incident using a photo on a Canvas app, we can take the GPS coordinates to where that photo was taken, and it'll tell you that you're in Aztec West in Bristol. Therefore, you're in Office 3, for example, or wherever it might be. And videos as well, so you can use apps to create videos. So where is that data going to be stored? That's one to really think about if you're building these things. And if you're collecting data, as it says there, where will you store it? So yeah, managing data is really important. If you have somebody on side, somebody in the business that understands data, where you're going to store it, obviously make sure it's secure, and there's no kind of information assurance compliance issues there as well. But if we're going to start off simple, just to store the data in the CDS, use the inbuilt services that are available in Power Apps, and that'll do just fine. Or if you want to use a Canvas app, you can point that quite easily to SharePoint as well. So, you could build a Canvas app on all the ideas in a SharePoint list, or the actions in a SharePoint list. Those type of things are quite simple to start off with. So yeah, I think start building then. So get it, start doing it. A lot of the kind of people we talk with are all kind of asks questions, and I just say just go to make.powerapps.com, log in. Obviously, if I have appropriate license and an appropriate access, I wouldn't encourage you doing it in certain organizations that you work for. But if you've got your own Office 365 account, just make.powerapps.com. Start building, just have a go. Follow some of the videos that we've shared from the last 3 workshops, and that'll show you how to build tables, how to build views, how to build forms, business process flows, business rules, and you can just start having a go. And I think really that is the best advice, is just kind of have a go, fail quick, ask a friend, give us a shout if you need a help. And yeah, we're happy to offer any support or training. We've had a couple of people reach out to us who've just wanted an hour coaching, and we've offered them, Chris and the guys here, just for half an hour, just to say, look, I'm struggling with a Power Automate flow on a specific problem. We're more than happy to help anybody in the community develop these applications and make the most out of this technology which is in place at the moment. So and also the last point to mention is that Power Apps, it is available within Office 365. So get an Office 365 license. Go to office.com, get logged in, get set up. But then if you need to go into make.powerapps.com there, or the waffle on the left hand side, and pick the Power Apps icon, and you can start building those apps quite simply. There's a couple of demo apps in there as well, if you go in there for the first time, and that's also quite good to start off with a demo app. Okay, cool. So on to the next agenda item. So corporate risk. I guess I want to show some of the component parts of the journey so far and what we've done in these workshops. What we're going to show today is a very simple version of a corporate risk management solution. So we've got a number of customers that we're working with at the moment that are trying to manage corporate risk, across an enterprise. They've got Excel spreadsheets, they've got reports, they've got audit committees, they've got all these kind of stakeholders that are asking for these services, but the bottom line is that they've got many of the customers that we're working with in this use case have got just stagnant data, static data that's just disconnected, and they can't do anything with it. So this is a pared back view of a corporate risk management system built in the Power Platform. And if anybody's got any questions as we go through this, please do just feel free to just come off mute and just ask the question, or raise your hand, or even pop the question into the chat window. More than happy to go through that to answer any questions that you have. So in this example then, so this is a model-driven app for those who haven't seen one of these before. This is all built using low-code, no-code services. There's no JavaScript in here, no kind of complicated stuff. This is simply a case of building tables, building views, building a business process flow, and then building some rules in here as well. And this is it. So effectively we've got a view. So we talked before, I think it was in workshop 2 about views, and this is your ability to filter these risks across certain parameters. So might have all the risks that are in draft. All right, so you've got 2 risks here that are in draft at the moment, and then you've got some risks that are live, and that'll make more sense when I go into an example risk now in a minute. But this is effectively the status of the risk itself. You've got some inactive risks, so effectively as out of the box in this solution, you've got active and inactive as the status of a record. Inactive means it's read only. Effectively, you can't change it. It's effectively a closed record. And yeah, we've got active risks, a logger view. So if you want to create a simple view for people who are logging these risks, you can do that. And in this example here, you've got all the risks that are in review. So very much like a SharePoint list view, same concept, same theory, just much more modern technology to build it. And you could do more with this in the future, but this is just a simple version for now. So active risks. One of the other things as well to think about, one of the tricks is these little pins here. So if you're using Power Apps, you can set the pin here to default view. So when you return to this entity, it'll go back to active risks or decisions for me, because I like this view. It's quite a hard one to spot sometimes, so I'm going to do it and just hope that that does work. But if you pin it now, so inactive risk is my default view. If I move away and I go back, it should land on inactive risks. There we go. So I'm not having to kind of continually drop down here and click my favorite view, and then I can just simply change it by reattaching that pin there. The other thing as well that's quite cool is hiding those. In the future, we'll show you how to move these or change these icons. You can see they're all this weird jigsaw puzzle thing at the moment, but yeah, so we like to have all these different, so you have some some understanding of what each of these are. But you can click these 3 lines up here and move this in, yeah, and move that out, which is really quite useful. So I'm just gonna make sure I'm cool. So one of the other things then is that the charts. So you can create custom charts in this space, but there's no charts in this example. But it's a pane here that is available for you to surface charts into this system if you wanted to, and we'll cover that in one of the next workshops. The other things that are coming out of the box in these type of model-driven apps are the export to Excel, which is quite cool because if you want to export it into Excel and create pivot tables, then you can use the dynamic worksheet. If anybody's used it in SharePoint, you can export the Excel into export the data into a dynamic worksheet, and then what you're able to do then is you're able to hit refresh, and it'll save locally on that Excel spreadsheet, and it'll update the data. But also you're able to here, it's exporting this data set, but effectively you're able to select all the values that you want to export within the system. So current likelihood and current impact are not available within this view at the moment. They're not there. But one of the benefits of this service is that you're able to bring out the current impact and likelihood that is associated to these records, which is quite cool. Modified by, I'm just going to pick a couple of examples here. and you're able to pick the owner. Oh, sorry, we'll pick the owner as well. It's a bit slow on my side. Probably my mouse, my wireless mouse, losing a bit of power, needing some new batteries. So I'm going to export that here now. It's just going to export these services and then open up into Excel. So it's quite intuitive to use, but anybody, if you give them permissions, can do that. And you can see here the current likelihood. It is my mouse is a bit slow. The current likelihood and current impact scores have come out here as well. I do believe, although I'll ask the senior developers to clarify later on, but you can change these records, these values as well, and it will change the value back in Dynamics 365 in that model-driven app, which is again, quite cool to be able to post those services back up into the system. It's obviously based on permissions and rules as well. You might not want everybody to do that, but the idea is here that we can effectively use the data services and refresh all the data going into the system if we want to, right? The only reason I'm hesitating is because once it did fail on me because I had a permissions issue. Yeah. So yeah, in this example here, that it's not refreshed up because I haven't been given the permissions to refresh that data in this demo environment. But if you are given the granted the permissions, it will refresh those values and bring it back out into Excel, so you can save this set locally and then do whatever you want with it in terms of creating pivot tables or whatever you need to do. Cool. So that's risks. The view. What I'm going to do is going to go into an example risks. Let's pick this one. All right, so this is the record effectively, and this is a risk. We talked in workshop 3 about business process flows, and these are the business process flows that we've defined here for this model-driven app. So you can see you can almost build these checklists for these stages for risks going through a journey. You can make these as complex or as simple as you want. In this example, they're quite simple. Just does the risk owner agree with the approval? Yes. Okay. Risk assurance team, have they reviewed it? Have they declined it? Okay, they've accepted it. I'm going to move it on to the next stage in the process. All right. So it's really is about kind of building that through there. Cool. So the other these are pages then, so tabs as we call them. So you're able to change the score of a risk. All right, and then you're able to kind of save the record and it'll update the score, whether you're using a 5x5 model, but this model is using inherent, current, and target as well in this case. Down here, we're able to categorize these risks or associate these risks with divisions. So this risk, the space mission may fail, is associated to the human resources division, just as an example earlier on today. And I'll show you what you can do with that later on in terms of reporting. All right, so another example we've got here is creating actions. So we all love a mitigating action against a risk, and this is simply just to make sure the space mission doesn't fail. There's a really bad example. You can assign an owner in this example. Just this is obviously a demo environment, so it's got no real owners, and we can select a RAG then. So okay, this is green. Start dates, we can see the type of fields that are available in this example, and end date. This mitigating action has got to be completed by the 31st of May. You can change the date format. You'll notice is in an American date format at the moment. Okay, so we're going to save and close that action, and fingers crossed. I actually think it appears in a target future action. There we go, because it's a future action. So in this use case, we wanted it to appear in a different tab, basically to give the user the ability to see future actions versus current actions that need to be completed. You can then do updates in this example. So this is a little bit more complex. I'd probably start off as a bit more simpler, but you could effectively say these are the scores of the current risk, and I might just do update, so weekly update, and then you can set these are the previous scores or the current scores in the system, and what you can do is you can set new scores in this example. So this is using a Power Automate flow to take these scores and re-update the existing score of this risk. it's a bit complicated in this example, but in essence, it was just trying to take a change request approach to this risk. All right. So I'm just going to close that down. One of the things that we talked about earlier was the division, so linking these risks to divisions. And here is a simple kind of a division called HR in this example, but we're able to see the related risks to this division, and you can see that risk is here. All right, so if you're coming in as the head of HR or HR directorate in that example, well, actually you can go back into the system in another way, so in an alternative way. I want to see all the risks that are related to HR. You go to HR, my directorate, related risks, and if that kind of functionality is out of the box, and that's how powerful this tool is. And then again, I can export all of them to Excel if I want to, or even create a pivot table. Okay, you can run reports if we had reports built in here, quite simple stuff as well, and you can also add other records and repoint them to the service. So current actions, so I just added that action there to make sure the space mission doesn't fail. Ridiculous action. But I can go back in here now, and I can add some narrative mitigation description. So the idea is that it's just to show what this tool could do if you were to go and have a go at building this for yourself. Mitigate and update, and then save and close. And you can see those values come back through to here as well. So if you wanted to see, kind of create a view that says, give me all the risk descriptions, then you could do that here as well. You can create new actions from here and then link them back, but that's not how we designed it to be used. We designed it for the user to come into risks, select the risk they want to update, and then apply some actions into the risk itself. It's almost that hierarchical approach, and just to recap, that's where it lands there. All right. The other thing as well that we like in this technology, in this service, is this timeline. It's quite cool. You can book appointments or emails. You can even add notes. So demo note. All right. So you can add this risk is on track to be mitigated. You can make it, kind of whatever text you want. Add photos in there as well if you really want to, or attachments, links, and things like that. But you're able to go and record activity against this, and even send emails using Outlook 365 plugins. Doesn't look as nice in my opinion out of the box, but we can do some cool stuff with this. So if you wanted to email Megan, for example, in this use case, and you wanted to say demo risk, and this is on track. I hate making up narrative for demos. It's always a bit of a challenge, isn't it? What do you say? To come up with a real risk off the top of your head is quite a challenge. But yeah, you're able to then send this, attach a file, insert, kind of technology services, attachments and those kind of things as well. And then in theory, if this is in a live environment, that email would be sent through Dynamics 365 as me rather than mod administrator, and sent over to Megan then. And the idea is that if Megan responds to that email, again, it auto-populates in that timeline feature. So it's like a mini CRM, I guess, for each of those risks, going through the process. All right, so current actions, and then you've got the ability to set views. So active mitigations or actions, or inactive. All right. These it's the same set of data, but it's the actions that effectively have been completed. Right, and then another kind of example here is that we've got approvals. So we did have like an automated approval flow that said if your risk was of a different owner to the submitter, it would go off using Power Automate, and you could say yes, I approve that risk, and it goes through to the next stage of the process. All right. And that's really just a whistle-stop tour of a very simple risk management app. If anybody's got any questions, I'd welcome any questions that you have. Also, if anybody wants this, let me know. Just email me at joel.markham@iCoTechServices.co.uk. I'm more than happy just to show you how to consume this little kind of proof of concept, I guess. It's really just to help people start from a baseline, start from a point of reference, I guess, and then start building and configuring their own Power Apps, really. So yeah, I'd just like to open the floor up to any questions at this time. I've got a few minutes left, so so it's just Q&As at the end of this session now. Has anybody got any questions at all? Anybody want to put something in the chat window? I could perhaps show you how something works, or if you want to come off mute and ask a question, more than happy to answer any questions that you have. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for the question. So in this example, let me just find one that was live. So these effectively are risks that are at the end of the stage. In this example, in this use case, it's just almost like a made-up use case just for articulating how the system could work. But the idea is that I guess one of the nuances of this tool as well is that the BPF, at the end of the process here, a risk is live in this example, or a record is in stage 4 in a system form. It doesn't really matter what stage it's in, but it's still open. It's still an active record. So when you're designing your process, you've got to have, I guess, in your mind a stage 1 draft, stage 2 decision, stage 3 review, a stage 4 live. All those stages are active stages, and once that record or risk has been completed or mitigated, you can, in this case, press yes, and you can finish the process. It's almost like it drops off the end of that business process flow. It took me a while to get my head around that, and in some cases, it doesn't always work, if I'm honest, as well. Kind of, because if you've got, say, a stage called closed or completed, you're never going to close the record. But in this simple use case, Atto, it's a simple case of selecting yes and finishing the record. And in theory, I think it goes into inactive now. Here we go. So it's got a green tick box there saying finished, and this is a read-only action or risk now, and it's effectively closed in this example. All right, and that's how this example system does it. You could get rid of the active and inactive concept in this example and just have that you've got, say, the risk is mitigated, and everything is mitigated. You could instead of live, you could report on that using Power BI as well. But thank you for the question. I hope that answers your question, Atto.
Yeah, that's fine. Thanks so much.
Yeah. And then in inactive risks now, my little the space mission may fail risk is in inactive risks. You could rename that to say closed, for example. As with these things, there's a million different ways of doing the same, meeting the same requirements, but that's a simple way this tool does it. Any other questions at all on Teams? Anybody else wants to ask a question? Please do feel free to come off mute and just ask us. More than happy to answer anything, or even go into the chat window as well and just pop a question in the chat window. More than happy to answer. No. Okay, Rob, mate, did you have a point or a question?
Yes, I did actually. Thank you. Thank you, mate. But I think one of the things that I had a couple of people reach out to me off the back of the last few sessions just to ask around. Obviously, I appreciate we're kind of going down some example use cases here, and as much as we'd love to be able to share every possible use case for it, obviously that would be impossible to do from a content perspective, but one thing that's worked really well, because a few people have reached out to me, is I'd like to just kind of extend it to the audience that are on the call here today. If you have a use case, if it's something very simple like an expenses app or a return to work form app, these really simple use cases all the way through to some of the more complex stuff that we've seen here today, I just like to say, put something in the chat, send us an email. don't hesitate to reach out to us. We're always happy to have a conversation and kind of talk through what that can look like, because it's very difficult on these types of sessions to be able to cater to everyone in lots of different industries and lots of different sectors, and all of that kind of complexity. I just like to kind of make it really clear now is that if you have these questions, don't hold on to them for a couple of weeks and then send them through. Feel free to just reach straight out to us. We're always happy to help in any way that we can, especially from my perspective with the more simplified business apps. I absolutely love talking about those simple use cases and those really quick wins that you can go and spend a day or two developing an app and get something really valuable, like a return to work form, for instance. That's something, Joel, I'm sure you'll echo, that we've had an awful lot of how long would it take to do this. We're happy to have those conversations and share our kind of industry experience there.
Absolutely, and furthermore, there are some template apps as well, so that if you have a use case or requirement, reach out to us, as Rob says, and we can share what we've done before, and Microsoft offered a number of different template apps as well. Cool. So that is all from me. I think the last thing was just my last slide was just a thank you slide. Thank you to everybody who has joined the call, and thank you to those who have joined every single workshop before as well, and for those returning to your second webinar event from iCoTech. I'm going to do this better than I did it last week, because I actually forgot what webinar was due next week. Last week, so not great. So, but Project for the Web Workshop 1 is with Matt Richards on Thursday next week. So he's going to take you through Project for the Web. For anybody that hasn't seen that already, we're focusing on that at the moment, just due to the kind of Microsoft requirements and excitement getting that done. And then the next week we're talking about Project Accelerator as well. So and then I think we commence in the 7th of June. There's a Power BI workshop as well. So everything across the Power Platform. We're focusing this year on doing one webinar a week. Thank you very much for attending this. If there's no other questions, we'll draw the session to a close. But yes, thank you very much for joining. You can follow us on YouTube, on LinkedIn, and you can reach out to myself, Joel Markham, on LinkedIn, or contact us at info@icotechservices.co.uk. Me and Rob will pick that up and reach out to you and discuss any questions that you have. So yeah, have a great evening. Thank you for attending, much appreciated. Hopefully you found the session useful, and we'll catch up on the next one. Thank you so much. Cheers.
Thank you ever so much for your time, guys. It was great to see you all.
Cheers.